What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So, I have a gig coming up in a couple days, and I kind of wanted to run you guys through some of the stuff I'm going to take to the gig with me, because this is a different kind of gig. I haven't really done, like, kind of a breakdown of this kind of stuff. I've showed you guys, like, what I take to a gig where I'm playing a show, but I'm not playing this show. I'm on the sound crew, and I do gigs like this a lot, as well as, like playing shows with my bands, but I do sound guy gigs a lot too. And I haven't really done like a breakdown of kind of, the stuff that I would take to me to a typical sound guy gig. So that's what we're gonna do. Maybe you guys are looking into getting into doing like live sound yourself, and you're kind of thinking like, what should I have? What should I take to the gigs with me? What might bands need? Etc. Right? So for this gig, now every sound gig is kind of different. That's why it's good to have kind of a good spread of things that you can take with you. This gig is a little different. The band that I'm running sound for, I know, that they have some gear as well, and I know the venue they're playing at has a real nice system in it, and they have their own, really nice front of house board and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have to take anything like that. I'm not having to take power amps or boxes, speakers, or a board or anything like that. So this is more of a minimal gig, but there are still some things that I do want to take with me. I could probably get away like almost not taking anything with me. And there are some gigs like that where I'll take something like what I'm about to show you, and I wind up using almost none of it, if any of it at all. But it's one of those better safe than sorry kind of things. I've seen bands come into venues before, and the sound guys didn't bring anything with them, and then, the venue might have had a good system or a good board, but maybe they didn't have enough mic cables, or they didn't have enough microphones or stands, or just, something, right, that someone didn't have that they needed, and the sound guy didn't bring anything with him. And, you can make that argument like, well, is it on the sound guy if you're just a sound guy that's being called in to a venue? And because I've had this happen before, where a venue will hire me to do a job, and they'll go, you don't have to bring anything. The bands are supposed to bring everything they need. We've told the bands, hey, you have to bring your own drum mics, your own whatever it might be, right? And they told the sound guy, hey, you don't have to bring anything. We have a system, we have a board, the band provides everything they need. You just show up and run sound. In the perfect world, that would be perfect. That would work. But that's not the case ever, hardly at all. So this is kind of my minimal, what I'm going to take with me to a sound gig if I'm running sound at a venue that already has stuff, right? So I don't want to take a ton of stuff. There's no reason to overdo it. You don't want to be that guy that shows up with a whole bunch of unnecessary stuff, and everybody's like, why'd this guy bring all this stuff, But you want to have kind of some essentials that if people ask, then you're able to kind of fill in the gap somewhere. The reason I do that is because the bands appreciate it. It makes the show run better. Like, as the sound guy, I don't want to be running a show that is missing something, right? Like if somebody doesn't have a direct box, or they don't have enough drum mics, or they don't, whatever it might be, right? Like, I don't want to be running that show in that capacity. Like, it's going to be more difficult for me. The band's not going to enjoy it as much. The venue's not going to enjoy it as much. Like, it just makes sense, if you're going to be a sound guy, to kind of have a little, first aid kit of stuff that you bring with you that you can fill in the gaps if you need to. So, let's get to it, and I will show you guys some of this stuff. Alright, guys, so one of the first things that I always take to any sound guy gig is I have this case here. This is my Harbor Freight Apache case. It's like a Pelican case. And I have got my drum mics in here. So, you can see I got a bunch of cables I keep in here too. So I have enough cables to run all my drum mics. But, I'll kind of run you through these mics here. For the snare drums, I use this. This is a Shure Beta 56, and it's like a Shure Beta 57, but it's on this mount. And so what I will do, this is something I like to do. I will set this on so this doesn't clip onto the drums like these other mics do. This one goes on a stand. So I'll usually put it on a short, like a kick mic stand, and I will have it on the snare drum. And I really like this mic for the snares. It's a really good mic. It's really crisp. Really cuts through. Really like it a lot. But I like having it mounted to a stand, not clipped onto the snare drum, because drummers, whack the snare drum pretty hard all the time. And I don't want my snare mic bouncing around like this when they're hitting the drum. Because, the snare and the kick are the two drums that get hit the most. And the snare drum in particular likes to bounce around a lot. And so having this on a stand just kind of keeps my mic from bouncing around, keeps it from potentially falling off, or it lets me just position it a little better too so that I can kind of get it out of the way. So yeah, I like having that mic on its own separate stand. Then I have the Beta 52 kick mic. Now this is just a classic kick drum mic. I mean, you'll see this at lots of festivals and venues and stuff. This is just the standard for kick mics. It handles kick very well. The kick drum is generating a whole lot of frequency and a whole lot of air moving, and this mic just handles it very well. And it has a very nice kind of like bit of a mid dip in it anyway, and I just really like the tone I get from this kick mic. Next, I have the Shure PG56 mics. So these are, kind of the cheaper Shure mics, but I've been using these mics a long time. They're really durable. They sound good. They, they're not as big as I've seen some mics, so they're kind of easy to get out of the way. I do like that these clips, so they'll clip onto a drum and then they kind of angle back like this, so they're not sitting over the drum like this. So it kind of gives you a good line to get the cable out of the way, so it's not hitting any cymbals or anything like that. And it kind of angles the mic out of the way so the drummer, doesn't potentially smack the mic with the drumsticks, which is always not great when that happens. So I have 3 of those for toms. Got these guys for the kick and the snare. Now, these are the Shure PG81 condenser mics. So the thing I like about these mics is most boards will have phantom power. So these mics require phantom power, and this is what I use for cymbals. But you'll notice there's a switch on here, right? If you are using a board that doesn't have phantom power for some reason, these mics are battery powered. You can put a AA battery in it, and it will power the microphone, and they have their own built-in phantom power. So that hasn't really been an issue, but there have been a couple of times where I've had to do that in the past. Not recently, but said I've had these mics a long time. The other cool thing is I have these nifty Hercules mic stand clip holder things. I'm not entirely sure what they're called, but they clip onto the cymbal stands, and the mic will go under the cymbals. So I just started using these, and I really dig them. They take up way less space than a mic stand, and you don't have to have them, jacked up super high over the drum kit. You can have them right under the cymbals, and they're just really discreet and out of the way, and you don't have to worry about having extra big boom mic stands kind of taking up space around the drum set and being in the way, of people being able to see or just whatever, right? So I really like these clips. They have been really cool live. So that is my drum mics. Like I said, plenty of cables to hook everything up if I need to, and that all fits in this case. So let's move on. Okay, so the next thing I got here is my mic stand bag. So I got this nice bag to carry all my mic stands around. And it's just good to have extra mic stands. You never know when you're going to need them. I've got a couple of boom stands in here. I've got a couple of straight stands. I've got a straight stand in here that has like a big mic clip on it for like wireless mics. If a singer has a wireless mic and they want to stand, I've got one of those. This is my kick mic stand. I really like this kick mic stand. I like that it is a tripod stand and not one of those stands with like the big base on it. Like I've got some of those and I'll show you one in a minute. But I like this for the kick mic because kick mics tend to be a little heavy, and sometimes if you don't get those stands that just have like the singular base, if you don't get them positioned right, sometimes they'll fall over. People have a tendency to bump into them and knock them over. And this stand is just a lot sturdier and a lot more secure. And I don't have to worry about my kick mic moving nearly as much or getting bumped into or anything like that. So, really like this stand for kick mics. I do have one of these kind of stands with the base like I was talking about. And this is the stand that I will put that snare mic on. And the reason I like it is because since it does have the base, it's a lot easier to kind of maneuver in around. Oh, hit my tripod there. This is a lot easier to maneuver in around hi-hat stands and cymbal stands and the bass drum pedal, the snare stand, etc. A lot of drummers try to really cram their stuff in as tight as they can get it, and this just seems to be a little easier to work in to all of that mixture than a stand like this with the tripod base on it. The other thing I like about this stand is that it has another telescoping area that comes out of it. So this stand will actually get really tall, which is great for the snares because some drummers, drummers are all different heights. Some people are real tall, some people are real short. So if a drummer sets their snare up really high, I can extend this out and actually get the mic in position where I want it to be. So this is really good. This stand is really good for that. Alright guys, and last but not least is my backpack. So this is the D'Addario, I can't remember what it's called. I want to say it's called like the Backstage something, whatever. Anyway, it's one of their backpacks that they make for like sound guys and gigging musicians and stuff. So this has all my other stuff in it. So this top compartment right here, again, I use this backpack for all kinds of stuff, so the contents change regularly, but for this gig, I'll show you what I got in it here. So in the top compartment here, we got some 9-volt batteries because, who knows, right? Somebody might have an active guitar or an active bass and they might need a new 9-volt battery. So got some spare 9 volts there. And then I always carry one of these with me. This is a 1/4 inch to speak on adapter, and it is capable of handling power. So that's what I use it for. So if somebody loses a speaker cable or something like that, and they don't have a speak on end, and all they got is a 1/4 inch in, I've got an adapter here. We can turn a 1/4 inch cable into a speak on cable if we have to, or vice versa, or whatever. Yeah, so I always carry one of these with me because I wind up using this so much more often than you would think. So got that. The other really important thing to have as a sound guy is direct boxes. And as you can see, I've got 3 direct boxes in here. Having a hard time getting these batteries back in here. Alright. I've got a bunch of direct boxes in here. Now, they don't have to be fancy direct boxes. You just need something, if you've got a keyboard player or, who knows what, right? If you have something that needs to get into the PA system that only has 1/4 inch outs on it, then you need a direct box. So I've got plenty of direct boxes so that I can get any kind of pads, like drum pads, sample pads, electric keyboards, that kind of stuff. Some guitar modelers uh, will only have 1/4 inch outputs on them, and so you can use one of these to get that into the PA system as well. Yeah, you can never have too many direct boxes. Let's see what else we got in here. We got this little, 3-way power splitter here. I can take an extension cable and turn it into a 3-way power source if I need to. Got some duct tape in here. You never know when you might need some duct tape. Always good to have. And then the other thing I have in here is a little portable Wi-Fi router. So I have my iPad in this backpack, which we'll get to in a minute. I've got this iPad. I got my iPad, and then I can hook this up to any newer board, a Behringer X32, a Midas, whatever it is, whatever kind of board there is at the venue. If they don't have their own Wi-Fi, I can hook this up, and I can have Wi-Fi, and I can connect my iPad to the board, and I can kind of do whatever I need to do with that. Alright, let's see here. We'll go to this bottom compartment here. So in this bottom compartment, see, I got a bunch of cables. I got some extension cables. I got a couple of extra mic cables. And then I have a 25-foot guitar cord, because you never know, somebody's wireless system might die, their guitar cord might be cutting out, you might just need a guitar cable. And 25 feet is a pretty good length. Haven't really run into a situation where I needed a guitar cable longer than that. So, got that in there. Then I have some other microphones over here. So I've got a couple of Sennheisers. I got an E835 and an E935. You can see this one. This is like my microphone that I use, so it's been through it. But a couple of extra vocal mics. You never know. Somebody might forget a mic. They might just have a real crappy mic that sounds bad. So, a couple extra vocal mics. In here, I have a Sennheiser E906. So you can use this on all kinds of stuff. I've used this on guitar cabs before. I've used it on bass cabs before when, like a DI out on a bass head wasn't working. I'll just throw this on there and it sounds great. It does have this little switch on it, so you can kind of pick, a little bit of EQ, curve if you want. I usually just leave it flat though, but really good microphone. Because it's flat, I can just drape it over guitar cabs or bass cabs or whatever. I don't have to have a stand for it. I'll just run the cable up through, like the handle on the amp and tie this over the top and drape it, and it's good to go. So I like that I don't necessarily have to have a stand to use this on anything. And then I also have a couple of SM57s. So these are my old Unidyne 3 Shure from the 70s. And these mics are really cool. Do they sound better because they're older? I don't know. I think they do. I think they do. They're not as harsh sounding. They're a little warmer. They seem to have a little bit, maybe they've just lost a little top end over the years and they just kind of sit. They're not real hissy or fizzy or bright. They're really nice on guitars. So I got 2 of them in here if I need them. You never know, again, right? You might get to the venue and they might not have any, good guitar amp mics, or the band might have some junky mics that don't sound good, or, you never know, right? So always good to just have it, and they fit right in here, out of the way. They don't take up a lot of space. Alright, let's see. Over here, I have a couple of these windscreens for putting over the, ends of microphones. Outdoor gigs where it's windy and you're getting a lot of, that kind of if the wind's blowing too hard in your vocal mics, put this on there, it'll do away with it. But the thing I really use these for is if you've ever been shocked by a microphone, if the venue or the stage isn't grounded properly, and you get a little zap when you touch your mouth to the microphone, put one of these on there and that will stop that from happening. I've been zapped so many times and it absolutely sucks. So I always carry some of these with me just in case that happens and we aren't able to run down a grounding issue or anything like that. I can just pop one of them on a microphone and kind of be done with it. And then over here, I've got an auxiliary cable, just an 1/8 inch stereo aux cable with a 1/4 inch adapter on it. Again, you never know. I've had bands before be like, oh man, can you play this intro thing off of my phone, right? Or off of our laptop or something. And they won't have any way to get the laptop into the PA system, so I can use this and a direct box and get them into the PA system for their intro or use their phone or whatever they need to do, right? So that's what that's for. Got some more batteries in here. We got some AA's, again, in-ear packs, wireless guitar packs, wireless microphones. All that stuff uses AA and or AAA batteries, so always got some spare batteries around just in case. And then, last but not least, a couple of these. They are just XLR to 1/4 inch adapters. One of them's stereo, and one of them's mono. Again, you might not need them, but if you need one of these and you don't have one, this is the most important thing in the world. And then you're freaking out because you need this weird adapter that you don't have and no one has one. And I've run into that more times than I can count. So, boom, adapters. So yeah, guys, so that is almost everything. I almost forgot. In the back of the backpack here, we've got this pocket that holds a laptop or an iPad, and I have my iPad so that I can hook up to, their board with that Wi-Fi router that I have, and I can pull up mixing station, and then I can control the board from my iPad if I need to, which is great because, sometimes you might be behind a console and you might just not be hearing things the way you want to hear them. You don't want to get up and move somewhere else. This also lets me go up on the stage with control of the board, like while I'm sound checking bands. I can get up on stage with the band and talk to the band members and stuff, Even using a talkback mic sometimes from the board, it's sometimes it's just easier to be on stage. I can point at things I want to hear and talk directly to the band while I'm sound checking them. And so that just lets me do that. Plus, the cool thing about Mixing Station is it works with a ton of different boards, Mackie boards, Behringer boards, Midas boards, Soundcraft boards, whatever, right? And so I can sync up to any of those boards, and Mixing Station always looks the same. And that's my favorite part about it, is sometimes, all these boards have different interfaces, and all of their proprietary apps look different. So instead of learning 5 or 6 different apps and having all of them on here, I just have Mixing Station. And I can sync up to any board, that I haven't run into a board yet that this app doesn't work with. So, those are kind of the big brands, right? Mackie, Behringer, Midas, Soundcraft, Yamaha, right? This works with all of them, and it always looks the same. So, I only have to learn this one kind of user interface here. And then, so if I come into a venue and I have a board that I don't really know. I'm not that comfortable with. I don't know how all the layers work or how all the controls necessarily work, right? I can just sync up with it, and I can just control it from here and do anything I need to do, and I'm good to go. So, hope you guys liked the video. That's my kind of on-the-go sound guy rig. Like I said, I've got a lot of other equipment, you know, PA systems, speakers, amps, boards, you know. If I need to do that kind of stuff, I can. If I need to take a whole rig, I can. But most of the gigs I do these days, it's stuff like this. Just coming in, using the system that's already there. And so you don't really know what you're going to walk into. You got to be flexible. And you need to be, you know, easy to work with. I think that's kind of the main thing about being a sound guy is you just got to be easy to work with. A lot of sound guys act like they don't want to be there. And I'm not trying to throw any shade, but just from my experience, and you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys have kind of had the same experiences, and it's kind of a meme for a reason, right? Like the grumpy sound guy meme, right? A lot of sound guys just act like they don't want to be there. They're really unhelpful, and that's unfortunate. You know, I mean, if you don't want to do it, don't do it, right? If you don't want to be a sound guy, don't be a sound guy. I enjoy it. I like working with bands. I like problem solving. I like running into issues and figuring them out and being able to troubleshoot them on the fly and solve problems. So that ticks that box for me. But yeah, just if you're going to get into this, it's fun. It can be hectic. It can be stressful. You know, when things are going wrong or it's raining on your equipment or something like that, right? But at the end of the day, it's all about enjoying what you do and just trying to make everybody have the best show they can make, you know, making the venue happy. You're kind of the mediator, right? Like, as a sound guy, you're kind of the in-between point between the band and the venue or the promoter or whoever you're working with, right? So it's like, you want to make all those people happy. You want to make the band happy. You want to make the venue staff and the promoters happy, right? And if you just show up with nothing and things are kind of lacking and not running the way they should be, a lot of times, even if it's not your fault, a lot of times that does get kind of thrown back at you as the sound guy. That kind of gets dumped on you. So I just like to cover all my bases and make sure I have the things I might need. And that I'm professional and easy to work with. So, yeah, hopefully we have a good gig. I'm excited about it. And hope you guys like the video. And I will be back soon.